Hey y'all, it's 4 Deep and we're back with another episode. If you're a woman in your 20s, you've come to the right place. Today we'll be getting deep into the frontal lobe. Our girl Cam is going to tell us what changed after her frontal lobe developed.
All right, y'all. So before we get into it, I feel like I know people have seen things on social media, TikTok. I mostly have seen it on Twitter where people are talking about feeling like their frontal lobe is developed, or they woke up on the day of their 25th birthday and they just felt like things finally just clicked. And in a way, I can relate. I don't feel like mine was as sudden. I think mine was more so much later on down the line. I look back like there was a lot of changes that happened during that time, and I had no idea that those changes were going to happen. So I just want to talk a little bit about that experience and what that was like. But to also give y'all background on what that means and why people say that your brain essentially finishes developing like into your late 20s, and you're like by 30, you usually have a pretty fully developed brain. But they always say around 25 years, it's like your frontal lobe develops, and your frontal lobe is like for decision making, planning, problem solving, reasoning, thinking logically, all the important things that you need as an adult in your day-to-day life. And so for me, I feel like it was probably around 24 that I started to notice changes in my like decision making. And at that time in particular, I was in a relationship, and for context, I was 24 in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Or I turned 24 in 2020. I turned 24 in 2020. Child, I don't know. What is it? Do we even know? And I mean, there was a lot of things going on at that time, but that relationship was one of the first moments where I realized that like, I'm different.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly was that ending that relationship. I had always told myself like my non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
And I had talked about this. I'm sure I've talked about this in episodes before about having those non-negotiables in relationships, but I actually stood on that. And that was the first time that I remember actually making a decision for myself that was ultimately something that was meant to protect me and to, you know, basically like let this person know that I'm not the thumbs down. Sorry, y'all. I'm looking at us as we're recording, and I'm seeing like a thumbs down on the screen as I'm talking. But basically, thumbs down to that man. I made a decision that allowed myself to stand on my business and protect myself and have a standard going forward to in future relationships. Mm-hmm. And when I started to like think about that kind of was like, I think that's the thing that kind of started it all for me when it came to decision making and just feeling like I don't have to hold on to things that don't align with me. I can separate from them. And then it started to also kind of turn into like my friendships. I started to be a little more cognizant and just aware of my friendships in my life. I don't think I necessarily let anyone go, but I started to kind of like see the people in front of me. I think that was another thing too. Around that time, as I got closer to turning 25, particularly with my birthday turning 25, I had felt like I had seen myself for the first time. I'm looking like, okay, I'm like an adult. At 25, this was my first year of dental school. So I'd only been in DC living completely on my own at this point for like 2 months. And I had went home for my birthday because it was also the same time my godson's first birthday. Oh. But when I came back home, that was like, you know, I'm going back to school, and I actually got to like just be by myself. And I remember thinking like, I can finally like see what I want for myself and who I want to be. I felt like I also kind of was like embodying like the courage to be that person as well, because I think we spend a lot of our kind of our teenage years trying to figure things out, but we really use our early 20s as an extension of trying to define ourselves, find ourselves. Mm-hmm. And also those relationships like with people during those times, they may not stick because we're also trying to find reflections of ourselves in other people. And I remember at that time, my discernment was starting to peak as well, because I was seeing things in people that I'm like, I don't know you, but I don't need to know you any more than what I already got right here. Especially because being in dental school, you're going to be around these people for 4 years, particularly your classmates, but you're going to be exposed to people for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think because of proximity, we all got used to like, well, we all have to have some sort of relationship with each other. But that was a point at which I realized, like, no, this is on my terms. Like, I can have whatever kind of relationships I want with people, and that's okay. I started to kind of reassess like my boundaries when it came to other people, because I was always a people pleaser, I felt. And so that was a time that I started to like break all that down. And it just was so much happening by the time I don't even think I probably was like 26 and maybe like doing some reflecting. And I realized like I'm a completely different person, unrecognizable to myself in so many ways, which is a good thing, because we all should have, you know, that sort of growth to where we look back and we're, you know, proud when we reflect on it. But then when I turned 27 and I really started to like look like, okay, now 30 is here, like not here, but you know what I mean? It's the only direction we're headed now. we're getting further away from 20 by the second. But it was in that moment that I was like, wow, I'm so glad that breaking up with my boyfriend started that whole, it was like the catalyst for all of this growth and learning. And
wow,
it just spread into so many areas of my life. Like, the way that I navigate my friendships, the way that I date, everything, like just a complete like 180 in a sense. And so I'm very proud of that. And the fact that my brain is still developing is like, I'm probably going to be unrecognizable by the time I hit 30. But yeah, that has been my experience with that frontal lobe development. And so I wanted to ask y'all, because I know y'all are in it. Y'all are in the mix of frontal lobe development right now. Yeah. So how has that been for you? If you've noticed any changes, or, you know, if you're not feeling like that process has started for you, you know, what are you looking forward to, or, you know, any of those comments?
Well, I do have a statement in regard to everything that you just said, basically. So there were so many good things that you said, Cam, and I love that for you. The first thing was really just like, I was thinking while you were talking about like old people and how they get real set in their ways, and then they become like a specific type, you know, and mentally at an older age. And I'm like, wow, our mindsets and our identity, like the way that we hold on to our identity, like it shows up differently in different stages of life. And when we're just now coming to, we want to employ that, and we're still finding out ways to like make it known and like set those boundaries. And then once you're older, you're like, hey, I'm an adult, and I've been an adult for this X amount of years. I've been an adult longer than I've been a child at this point. And so then they start just kind of getting all loose at the mouth, just saying whatever.
That is hilarious.
But before the episode, I was doing a little, you know, planning for the episode, and I looked up the word development, or develop. I forgot exactly which word, but there was 2 definitions to it. And I want to point these out because they really relate to what you were saying. So the first one, it says start to exist, experience, or possess. Yes, Cam.
Yeah. Yes.
So when we're saying frontal lobe development, we're genuinely developing in our decision making, in our maturity, in our discernment, like you were saying, and we're starting to exist in a whole new way. We're starting to experience in a whole new way, and we're possessing these ideals about ourselves that's really pushing us to go forward with our boundaries, pushing us to go forward with the you know, with the ideas that we have for our successes. And so I really feel like this is when we actually become an adult. Like, we think you're an adult at 18. No. You think you're an adult at 20. No. You really start feeling like an adult, and it settles in around like that 24 to 26 age. And you're like, wait a minute, like, we're here. Yeah. Training wheels are off. Like, we're here, and this is real life, and it's only going to get even more real. And so I just really wanted to point that part out because I thought that that definition and what you were saying were just going hand in hand so well. I was like, "Whoa, this is scary!" Like that's literally the definition of develop, and you developed.
That is so crazy too.
Right, right. And that's just the first definition. The second one was grow to become more mature, advanced, or elaborate. So that's literally exactly what you're doing. And I was also thinking about how you said that a major life change was made. You know, you cut off a boyfriend. That is a huge major life change. And I'm thinking, like, what kind of major life changes are happening between the ages of 24 and 26? And these changes are able to be made because we are getting more comfortable in our decision making and really making decisions based on who we are. You said that you cut off an ex and you also moved to a whole new state. You know, I'm getting married. Jada, you're about to move across the country too. Desinae, you going after everything you ever wanted. Like, we are in the stages right now where we are making those life changes, and like a lot of these big life decisions are happening, and I just love seeing it because it's like, wow, it's our frontal lobes at work right now.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
And it's almost like,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, what is y'all's experiences with frontal lobe development, or if you're not feeling like it's happening for you, you know, what are some things that you might be looking forward to? Or
Got you. I'll let you continue though.
I was gonna say, it's almost like it's like this automatic process. Whether or not we know that it's happening, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crazy part too, because before we had platforms where everybody could like say a statement and then everyone was like, oh my God, yeah, me too. And then now it's just like a thing.
Yeah.
Did people ever realize that there was like this huge shift? Like, it almost makes me want to talk to older people in my life. Like, do y'all remember there being a shift in your 20s? Or maybe generationally, it might have been different. Like, the shift might have happened at a different time for them, or maybe they realized it, or I don't know, because maybe our parents were younger. So I feel like they probably were, at least my parents and my age, they were already starting a family. So of course their situations required them, required a lot more maturity. So they didn't have like, maybe they didn't associate all that development with them necessarily, more so to like what they had to do. But yeah, I don't know.
I wonder, we need to bring the aunties on.
No, I'll tell you, because my mama had me at 22, and so did my daddy. And I can definitely see, like, thinking back, I can see how over time their frontal lobes did develop. Granted, yes, my memory wasn't like the best when I was like 0 to 1. But I can definitely say though, like, I noticed who they were, at 24, 25, 26. Like, I remember how they were and like the situations that we were put in. And so just seeing how their development with decision making over time got a little bit better and better and better, especially for my dad. So yeah, if we're looking that way, for sure, I saw it. Even though they had 2 children by the age of like, what, 26? Right. So yeah, I can definitely see how it just got better and better. And some of the decisions, yeah, because like, why was I watching that movie at that young age? Like, I shouldn't have been.
Yeah, I would say for me, I don't think. Yeah, it's definitely in the process, because it was funny because I forget who said it, but talking about like, oh, realizing like, oh, like you're an adult, like that's what's happening right now. Like, you can, when we went on a trip, me and Desinae to Costa Rica, and we were kind of like, yeah, like we planned this out. We said we were going, but now we're here because we can. Like, it's kind of crazy just like thinking about that. So I don't think yet, but I do think that a lot of things are just coming to me, and just like I'm not stressing out over so many things as much, because I'm realizing like what matters and what doesn't really matter as much, and what I put my energy towards. So I would say in that sense, it is, processing, but it just feels like growing pains right now.
For me, I would say maybe a bit like similar to Cam. Like, I feel like I was starting to feel a difference, like in like, like the late months of like 24. and I like knew 25 was coming. I was actually like anticipating like the shift. I was anticipating it. So I was already like feeling the changes. And then also similar to Cam, like I was like really bad at people pleasing. And like I'm telling y'all, it was like as soon as I hit 25, I had like this whole mental breakdown, just like thinking about my life and like all of the decisions that I've made. And it's actually crazy because I didn't even like correlate it with me turning 25, but I came to the realization that like all of my major life decisions that I've made in the past were based off of what other people wanted from me and, you know, making other people happy and showing up for other people. So like I wasn't even like living for myself at that point. So like it was like really crazy to hear Jada say like, oh, like Des, like now you're going after everything that you want. That wasn't until I had that mindset shift of like, I don't care what nobody got to say about nothing that I have going on no more. I'm able to say no. Man, I say no. I throw no's around like it don't make no sense, because it just came to a point where it was like, okay, like who am I really living my life for? And wow, like just like reflecting now and seeing like that could have a lot of correlation with the development of my frontal lobe, that I was just like, I got to start living my life for me. Like I'm gonna be 30 in like 5 years. And like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you're not happy. Like you're not, you know, making your decisions based on what you really want. So I started to really think about what I really wanted for myself. And I feel like, and I'm only like, how many months am I in? I'm like 25 and a half. And so, and like, I'm just now, I want to say like maybe like the past like 2 to 3 months, and like making like actual, like taking action now. Like I'm actually taking action on everything that I thought about. It was like the first couple of months, I'm like reflecting and thinking like, yeah, what the hell was I doing? And then now, you know, the 2 to 3 months after that, I'm like, okay, it's time to take action and it's time to change things up. And yeah, my decision making has changed dramatically.
You know what I keep hearing? It's a theme about it all is more so like this revelation that you're living for yourself now. And it's like the revelation of autonomy and being able to make your own decisions. And that plus the development of your identity and like it's solidifying a little bit more. It's just making the frontal lobe be this process of, hey, I'm going to shift now. And that shift is a beautiful thing to witness. And I'm really happy that I get to be here with y'all. And I just, you know, earlier today, I was already being emotional when we first got on the phone. I'm not about to bring it back. I'm not about to bring it. Shut it down. But y'all know how to bring scripture into it. So we have a scripture for the peeps. For the 40 fam, is Hebrews 5:14, and it says, but solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. And so, Cam, that just goes with how your discernment increased and being able to distinguish between good and evil. And it doesn't always even have to be good and evil. It could really just be like good and bad for you and for your own personal like successes and achievements and goals and development and all these things. You're discerning, hey, I need boundaries here. Discerning, hey, you know, this is probably going to be a better life decision because I'm thinking about my future now, not just the right now, or I know it's in my hands and not in everybody else's hands. So I need to do something about it. For me personally, my experience was very similar. Like I realized that it was now. The time was now. The time isn't yesterday. The time isn't tomorrow. The time is now to actually start going after the things that I want, because nobody's going to do it for me at this point. And I was really just coming into it knowing that I needed to make better decisions, because this was me laying the foundation of everything that's going to come later. And if I wanted the best later, I need to lay a good solid foundation. And now thinking about it, around 24, around the beginning of 24 is when I started coming to Christ. And I'm seeing how also my decision making, even within my walk with Christ, has changed from 24 to now. Like right before I turned 25, I was like, I need to be sold out. I need to be sold out for God. Like, there's no more lukewarm. There's no more questioning. There's no more this. There's no more that. Like, I need to actually get with it, because I was just tired of making the same old decisions and being in the same old patterns and habits. And so that was a major life change for me. And I don't ever want to go back. Ever. But the prefrontal lobe cortex, is that the full name?
Girl, I don't
me.
The frontal lobe. We're gonna call it by its nickname, the frontal lobe. Yeah, that thing. It just felt like a solidification in the front of my brain. I just felt like whenever I just touched the middle of my brain, like something was something was happening. I think it was something really good. And, you know, I'm eating solid food now, according to the Bible. I'm no longer drinking milk. And they said drinking milk is for the infants, but eating solid food is for the adults. And like, I'm like, wow, you're right. And it's talking about really putting it in constant use. And that was the key thing there. It was the constant use of it all, because we could make good decisions back then, you know, but now it's like we're constantly making better decisions based off of better metrics and projections and estimations and things like that. So I'm very, very happy with my you know what, for my frontal lobe. I'm very happy with my frontal lobe. You know, my package is really nice. Y'all know how they be like doing like the little husband hauls. My frontal lobe cortex haul is really nice. You know, it does me well. I like the decisions it helps me make.
Okay.
You know, I used to call myself indecisive. I'm no longer that. Clap, clap. Now I could be a little bit more decisive about my, you know, my things. So I'm very, very happy with what God gave me up here in the frontal lobe.
And I can definitely concur. I'm very happy, because I just don't even know if I would have never changed, if I would have continued to make those same decisions and have those same patterns of thinking. Like, I don't even know how much everything could and would have changed for me. Like, would I be here in this moment having accomplished all the things that I have?
Yeah.
It's just, and there was something else you said, Jada, but I done forgot it, because my mind is, that's what we need to see. We need to check on the development of my memory, because that shots.
Right. What part of the brain?
Shots.
So what do I was gonna say, what do y'all think, like, is the reason why some people's decision making doesn't develop? Like, why do you know, like, why do you think that they stay stuck?
Oh,
I feel like, in a sense, it's not that it doesn't develop. People don't listen to their gut. People don't like follow what, like, and this just goes into so many things too. Cause like, when, for example, you meet a new person and they do something outrageous, and then, you know, it keeps happening over, you know, a few months go by, and then eventually y'all fall out. And it's kind of like, well, looking back, there were flags. Yes. And they were ignored. And, you know, I understand giving the benefit of the doubt, but there's usually a lack of like lines drawn. Like, you know, it's one thing to give people grace and have patience and let people be human, but also, like, if you know who you are, you know the kind of character you have, when making decisions for yourself, you have a feeling of what is for you and what is not at a certain point. And so from that point, it's like you're kind of just like ignoring it. Like the whole like do it for the plot thing. Like, sometimes you just do things, you know, it might not be the best decision, but it's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. Or you have a bad feeling about it, but you want it to be real so bad because you're holding on to like this, that, or whatever. So it gets done anyway. So I feel like it, you know, maybe some people, few, you know, really don't struggle with the ability to make decisions because, you know, everybody's not the same. But I do strongly believe that a lot of people know the difference between right and wrong for them and based on how they feel, but they ignore it a lot of times. And I mean, I say that personally too. Like, there may be some things I do and I'm like, I probably shouldn't do this. Do it anyway, and then it comes back on me. Or, you know, there's sometimes where I'm like, yeah, this just don't feel right. This isn't for me, and I don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, that made sense not to do. So, you know, I feel like I've seen that happen a lot. when it comes, to making decisions for yourself, whether it be through career, through friendships, through relationships. A lot of times we're holding on to like this idea of what we want for ourselves, and we think making this wrong decision or this decision that doesn't really seem aligned with us is what's going to get us there. But honestly, it just pulls us further from what we want. So that's my take on that. Great question. I think about that often. Yeah, I see that. I see it often. It's just like the signs are there. Like, why are we going down this route? What are we holding on to? But it's human. It's who we are. Like, a lot of times we have this idea of what we want for ourselves or what we think is best for ourselves, or, you know? So, yeah, I think a lot of people do have the capability of decision making, and that their brain tells them what's right and what's wrong. Or, yeah, but also you have to know your heart too, and know when your heart is like, all right, like, heart, baby, this ain't the time for that. Like, we got to bring logic in, or even having like that discernment from God too, like being able to look at a situation and be like, my mind is telling me this is what makes sense, but this is what God is telling me. Like, I feel this tug towards this way, so really being able to make that differentiation is also like another layer on top of everything. So yeah, nonetheless, decision making is hard, but there's some level of decision making that we can make that I feel like a lot of us just choose not to at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really agree. And I feel like for a lot of people, so a part of growing and developing is also, reflecting and learning how to deal with certain pains and traumas. And so I feel like when people don't deal with their pain and trauma, then they don't really have the mental capacity to grow or to develop. Like, their mind is so full and it is so damaged at that point to where like they're not really worried about growing. And like Jay said, like, they're deciding not to make those decisions that will push them to grow because they either, don't have the capacity to move forward. So they want to stay where they're at, or they're comfortable, or they're too buried deep inside their vices, or, whatever the case may be. I feel like if you don't reflect on yourself, if you don't reflect on what you've been through, if you don't try to find a way to kind of heal through that first, you're not going to grow. Because like for my dad, I know that when he was younger, his mom passed away. And I just feel like that was something that he never dealt with. Like, he didn't go to therapy. Like, he just ended up, going into the streets and like gangbanging and stuff like that. And I feel like it's such a deep pain that he's held on for so long that my dad is still the same person that he was when that happened to him. He has not developed almost at all since that time. And, he's like my dad is more like a friend to me, but because he's so young and because he's so young-minded, like, I feel like I'm more mature than him at this point in my life, but it's because he went through that pain and he's just stuck in that place. He never gained the mental capacity to like move past that point in his life. It's like he's stuck there and he's stuck as that person. So I feel like for those of you out there who like, are either thinking to themselves like, dang, like, why can't I get past this? Or like, why can't I, achieve my goals? Why can't I, get further in life, or whatever the case? If you just feel stuck, then you might need to look back at some of that trauma and some of that pain and, kind of figure out like, what is holding me back? Because something is holding you back. Because we all want to get better. You know what I'm saying? We all want to be successful. Like, we all want these things. And so you got to really ask yourself, if this is what I want, then why am I choosing not to make the right decisions? Right. Why am I making these decisions that are holding me back? And there is something rooted deep down inside that's keeping you from doing what you really want to do. And so, yeah, that's how I see it.
No, yeah, both of y'all's answers were really good. So thank you so much for that. And what I'm hearing from both of y'all is like it's like you have to want it. So it's like, like you can't help somebody that doesn't want the help.
Yeah.
And
don't save her.
and whether or not it's like they are subconsciously not wanting it or consciously not wanting it, they're not wanting it, you know? So like with Des was saying, like the trauma that may have them stuck, subconsciously they don't want the help because they don't even have the space to want the help, you know, because they're still just dealing with it. But when you want to actually grow and you're focused on the growth, that's when you're able to, like the verse said, Hebrews 5:14, put it into constant use, and then actually see that development from the habitual pattern of constantly using your discernment and constantly using the new decision making that you're able to have with your frontal lobe being fully developed. And so yeah, you have to actually want it and put yourself in that position, because you always have to be in the position for growth. Because if you're behind a wall, or you're stuck in between two hard places, you're not actually going to be able to grow because there's nowhere for you to actually move. But if you free your mind and you're able to put yourself in position for growth, then you'll actually be able to go. So yeah, personal development is definitely a topic here in 4 Deep that we love to talk about. And Cam, thank you so much for sharing your story today about personal development and your frontal lobe developing and how your experience has been with that. We're able to really learn from each other, and I love that. And 4D fam, if you're listening, we want to learn from y'all too. So please share your experiences with us. Comment them down below on whatever platform that you're using. Comment down below and tell us what your experience has been like with your frontal lobe development, and then also about that question I just asked as well, in regards to why you think it's hard for people to make those better decisions moving forward, and why some people might get stuck in specific time periods as well in terms of development. So thanks, y'all. Today was a really good conversation. Honestly, I think we got a little deep.
I think we got deep too.
Yeah.
I would give it, what would we say, a 3?
You know what? I'd say, yeah. I say a 3. Des tipped it to a little bit of a 3.4. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I gotta just disclose, no shade to my dad. I love my dad 100%. That guy is like my best friend. You know what I'm saying? He's young spirited, okay? And I love that man to death. Just a disclaimer, no shade.
Nah, I feel like just some healthy realizations.
Yeah.
Which is important. It's all part of the reflection process. But yeah, I know usually in the middle we stop and we remind y'all that if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that we don't want y'all to forget to rate us 5 stars. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notices.
Yes.
Pew pew pew.
Appreciate it. Thanks y'all so much. I feel like this is a really good episode. We trying to push ourselves, y'all. We started the season off light, Gave y'all 1, we gave y'all 2. Now we're giving you 3. We're getting there. We're working our way back to our usual flow. But today was good.
Yeah, I liked it. And if y'all have any topics that y'all would like for us to speak about, please also feel free to share those as well. We're always open to those in our DMs on all of our social media platforms at 4D Pod, FOOURPODDEEP. There you go. Wait.
It might have been an extra letter in there somewhere.
Wait. Okay, hold on. FORDEE. Wait. Oh my gosh.
FOUR.
I went to school, y'all.
DEEPPOD.
There we go. What that said.
Dang, why did that take me a minute? Goodness.
Guys, it's a little difficult. It's a
little tongue twister with all them DEEPs and
FOUR. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot. It's a lot. We're gonna get it next time, guys.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
Yes, thank you guys for listening.
Bye.